Never know how much I love you. Never know how much I care. When you put your arms around me, I get a fever that's so hard to bear. You give me fever.
Hi, I'm
Hi, Maria.
I'm super excited to have you on this episode of Gut Talks. I think we met about 10
Excited
years
to be
ago.
here.
Yeah,
Yes, potentially, actually, I think it was 11 years ago. Very briefly, but for some strange reason, we stayed in contact, and I see that today we are actually doing this.
yep. Yeah, it's amazing. Like we live in a like thanks to social media and everything, we managed to stay in touch and knowing what we're all doing basically. And you're a singer, songwriter, producer, arranger. I don't know if I forgot anything. Just let me know.
I'm also a voice coach.
Also a voice coach. Actually, yeah, well, that's the main topic. That's why we're here. So yeah, and I think yeah, the reason why I wanted to have a chat with you is because I run workshops and I tend to have a low voice, and I know that many people are have the same issue sometimes. Like after a long day, after speaking for so long, um, I can feel that I've got no voice and I just want to rest for the next 2 days just because I can't get words out of my mouth. And I was talking to a friend of mine who does similar things, and we sort of shared the same issue. And he told me that he took singing lessons, and then the Voice Guru Instagram, I've been seeing what you're doing, and there was this sort of engagement. I was like, oh, we should have a chat. So can you just expand a bit on, what do you do as a voice coach? Because that's not only for singers, but it's for everyone really.
From the start, I always saw singing not just as singing, but more of a state of being. But it's also a sport. So for me, it's important to combine not only what the physical paradigm can do, but also what the mental state and what your mental world can, how that thing can collaborate also to your well-being. So for me, singing is not just singing, it's also a combination of the physical world and your mental world at the same time. And this is my philosophy when I'm coaching new singers or talented singers as well who are actually pursuing a career. And this changes actually everything because immediately you're changing your mindset and you're going towards something that is more possible. And when you perceive or when you realize how much the mind can collaborate to actually not only your well-being but also the potential of your voice, this when you actually shift your mindset in order to become a great singer. And I'm convinced about this theory as well, and I do have proof that it actually works.
Tell us a bit more then.
So basically, it's curves. It's always a learning curve to learn something new, and for me, learning how to sing is the same principle. You can learn how to sing because actually not because, but as long as the information is brought to you in a tangible and concrete and very clear manner. For many, singing is like magic, or I don't want to insult magic, I'm sorry, but singing is sometimes seen as just a talent. You either have it or you don't, and you can't do anything about it. But for me, it's more like a sport. You can sometimes have more talent than others, but at the same time, if you don't work at it, you don't understand how the voice works, how your mindset works when you are singing and when you are learning how to sing. When you have all these elements, it kind of means actually that everyone can learn how to sing.
So everyone can learn how to sing, but doesn't mean that the voice will be nice, right? Or easy for the ear. It's just
I'm not sure the nice voice theory exists. It's your own voice. So this is part of what I do as well is reveal the true voice of every person, because it's very easy for us to imitate other singers or our idols. And this is mostly what we do when we're teenagers or when we start to learn how to sing. We really want to sound like someone instead of actually relying on what our body can do and wanting to sound like ourselves. This is part of the process. When I say the mind is part of the process, this is actually what it is. It's getting over the shyness, first of all. Second, revealing your identity through your voice to the audience.
Okay. So that's what you do in your coaching sessions, I believe, correct?
Definitely. So it is, yes. It is two aspects. They work simultaneously. Of course, there's a lot of technique involved. I don't only talk about like the mind, of course not. It's part of the process. But I rely as well a lot on what the body can achieve. And part of my requirements as a voice teacher and a voice coach is to teach those students or those advanced singers as well how to reveal that natural aspect of singing, because it does rely on the body, but it has to rely on what your natural body can do naturally and not by forcing it. And this is one of the biggest mistakes that singers do nowadays, especially.
This one, where, today everyone can be a singer, a journalist, a designer, anything, you name it. But one important aspect that's quite transversal across many disciplines is the fact that it's about knowing you can achieve certain things by believing in yourself, but also learning some of the tools and having the mindset, which is quite important. And this comes from different sources, but from experience as well. And I think the main thing is getting out of your comfort zone and taking risks. And I link this to the entrepreneurial mindset as well. So going back to the technical aspect of it, because I know we're going to be saving part of it for another episode, talking more about the mental health and whatever. So stay tuned. But my question is, what are some of the techniques that can help someone not feel tired at the end of the day, and how to manage your voice, basically?
So, yeah, exactly. The answer is pretty easy, actually. And I don't want to say it's tacky, but some people are going to think, oh, there we go again. Well, basically, it's the breath. We always talk about the breath, and all the coaches talk about the breath. Life coaches talk about the breath. Yoga instructors, Pilates instructors talk about the breath. But why? Because you are born. The first moment you are born, you come to this world, you breathe in. And when you die, you breathe out. And everything in between is actually a vicious circle of breathing in and out. For me, it's breathing in and breathing out. This is one cycle. So we repeat that cycle until the day we die. And this is why it's very important to rely on the breath. For instance, if you notice what I'm doing right now as I'm speaking to you is that before I even speak, every time I want to say something, I breathe in. I'm kind of taking my time doing that. Because if I do not take my time and I want to go really fast and say everything that I want to say without taking the time to breathe in and exhale while I'm speaking, what happens is that I'm going to exhaust myself, first of all. Second, I'm going to have either a lot of air in or a lot of air out. I'm going to also exhaust my breath and my diaphragm. And third, most probably people will not understand what I'm talking about, or perhaps they'll get stressed out because of the way that I'm speaking if I'm not taking the time to breathe in and to say what I want to say in a decent manner. So this is the first thing I would suggest to everyone. I coach public speakers as well, and I do have a public speaking individual program. So the first thing I always say is breathe in, take the time. One other thing is actually to enunciate properly, and this goes along with the breath, and sometimes they kind of work together simultaneously. They collaborate to the well-being of one another, I want to say that. But enunciating the words and talking a bit slower kind of gives that fluidity when you are speaking. But also, you have to think of your audience, your listener. Who are your listeners? Sometimes they don't want to get stressed out when they're listening to you because you're not taking the time to do all these things. And this is one of the important things about communication. Singing is a way of communicating, but also, why do we speak? The voice comes from the need for humans to communicate between one another. And so we need to use that to our advantage. But nowadays, we don't take the time to do all these things. We want everything fast without actually learning it the right way in the traditional way. And so from that point of view, I'm very traditional when it comes to how do you want to use your voice? So again, the same thing applies when you are working out. How do you work out? You're using all the natural things about your body, your natural reflex and movements in order to get more fit. And it's the same thing for singing. So when you are speaking as well, you are using everything that is natural to your body, which is breathing in, breathing out while speaking, and then breathing in back again when you want to speak again. Okay, so these are the two main elements that you need to focus on when you are speaking in public. I'll repeat it. First of all, it's breathing in, taking the time to do that. And second, enunciating. There is one third thing I want to discuss briefly right now is actually get over it. Or in other words, let it go. We are very self-conscious when it comes to performing or being in front of others. And humans usually tend to be very worried about their image, their self-image in front of others. And this is a main actually part of why so many fail when as soon as they come out on stage or they're in a meeting and they want to talk and everything just collapses, because we are so worried about what others are going to think of us. But the moment you let it go or you get over yourself, this is when you actually realize that everything is going into place naturally and your body as well is reacting in a very proper manner.
Yeah, it's something I haven't thought about, because what I was discussing with my friend was, it's about talking from the stomach and things like that, and I don't quite get that part, but I guess it's one of the things, really, one of the techniques one can go through.
Definitely. Speaking from the stomach, I can definitely explain a bit briefly about what this means. Speaking or singing from the stomach doesn't necessarily mean anything. We don't sing from the stomach, we don't speak from the stomach, because the vocal cords are not located in the stomach, fortunately. So, however, we do use the natural reflex of the diaphragm. So the diaphragm is a separation. So it's everything that is from your sternum, between your sternum and your belly button. And this area here is actually responsible for proper breathing. However, we do not control this area, because as soon as you want to start controlling things, just like life, when you want to control something, it doesn't necessarily go as planned. When you want to control your diaphragm or your breath, it just collapses. It doesn't work, because you want to control something that has been natural to you since forever, since the day you were born. You don't have to learn how to breathe. You just have to use how you're breathing in order to adapt it to when you are singing or when you are speaking. So in other words, we don't sing from the diaphragm, we don't sing from the stomach, or we don't speak from the stomach. We don't use the diaphragm. We use what it's already doing for us while we breathe in, because as soon as you breathe in and you breathe out, the diaphragm is doing its job. All you have to do is just trust it when you are breathing out in order to create the sound. So the force comes from this area. The source of your energy for the breath comes from that area and not from your throat. What so many public speakers do, and I watch a lot of public speakers, I watch a lot of TED Talks as well, and I'm sure you do, most of them, and you'll listen to it carefully, after a few minutes from starting, they start kind of screaming. And some of them also tend to have very gaspy breath. And you'll notice that from now on, look it up, and you'll see that this is actually what's happening, is that it's collapsing. They're not using this stability. They're not centering themselves when they are speaking. So they lose all sense of what is natural, and they start wanting to be something that they are not. And it's very easy to do that because we are worried of the self-image.
Interesting, because it's like everything's really connected, you know, from the brain
It is.
to the stomach to the
Definitely.
voice and to breathe. It's all in one, and you can't really separate them. So I think being quite self-aware of this, and with a lot of practice, I think, or, you know, recording yourself and trying to make an effort and talking would make a big difference. I learned so much in those 5 minutes, and actually I know that you share no, really, and I know that you share quite a few tips on your Instagram and social media channels, right, that I'm gonna be linking
Yes.
anyway
And
below.
my YouTube channel as well, where I post at least one video a week. It's singing tutorials, tips, and tricks for not just singers, but also for speakers.
Yeah, I think if you just label it as for speakers as well, that would be quite interesting, because it's a very, you know, especially today with the new norm and, you know, what you name it, like the new normal and the post-pandemic era, everyone's on, you know, endless Zoom calls and video calls and conferences, and it's going to be like that for a while. So, and this would make a difference because people are talking even more, I guess. So that would be quite beneficial for sure. I mean, I'm
Definitely.
currently teaching, and it's 4 hours in a row. I'm not saying I have to talk for 4 hours, but 3 of them probably, you know. So it's for sure it's something that's quite needed. And no, thank you so much for that. And we're going to be
Thank you, Maria, for
expanding
having
on
me.
this, later on. And
Great. That's the objective.
I'm more curious now to check out your
yeah,
channel.
that's the spirit.
Fever in the morning, fever all through the night. Everybody's got the fever. That is something you all know. Fever isn't such a new thing. Fever started long ago. Whoa, da dee da wee. Digging the beat out of way. Da 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 we